Okay, it's day 126, and this is the results you get from image searching on fusion centers. So this is very much in the public discussion right now. With the school shootings, a lot of these concepts of working together with local, state, and federal authorities was supposed to be included in the fusion centers. So we know about the 39 911 calls, we know about the 2 explicit shooter threats. We know that the FBI also had a JROTC instructor on site at campus. We know that even given all those things, we knew that the kid had an AR-15, and yet the tragedy happened. So something is fundamentally wrong with the fusion centers. I think that can easily be stated. Now, there are some people that say that there's no such thing as a CIA. There are people that criticize me that say that the CIA is never infiltrated as a police department. They've never used that as a method of controlling a population by infiltrating a police department. They've never established fusion centers. The things I've said with Doug Valentine and the Phoenix Project, that is a complete fabrication. There's no such thing as fusion centers. There's no such thing as putting one in every state and then putting one in every major area for a total. I could show people map after map after map and picture after picture, and they would still say Department of Homeland Security doesn't have these fusion centers, and the things you're saying about infiltration are not possible. That it's somehow I dreamt this up, and that there's not 10 regions in the United States, and that somehow that the Awans didn't have access to DHS. They didn't have access to the backbone of all these information centers. The fact that all this information is being collected in a central backbone, a DynCorp backbone, they deny. And yet I show them these operational diagrams saying how all these different sources are coming into these different operational centers and then being fused. And saying, hey, here's the building. This is the Anacostia building. That's the National Center. That's where the Navy, I show them the Navy Center for ONI, and I say, this is how you would do it. You would take a group of rogue Navy SEALs. You would create red teams. You would go out to the different state fusion centers. You would create certain dog teams that would be your guys. You would create thousands and thousands of security companies that you would give money to. I mean, literally, I have people that say that there aren't patches for these different fusion centers. There isn't this kind of esprit de corps that is trying to be created through Navy intelligence in these different areas, in different states. I have this said every day. I can show pictures to them all day saying, I disagree with that. There's actually the patches, there's influence campaigns on all these different fusion centers, but yet we have the arguments. But again, if I want to control a group, I don't need everybody in the fusion center. I only need 1 or 2 guys to give me information to my guys to get a fake police force, for instance, out on the streets. I could have them come over here to the hotel, call off the real police officer, say, hey, we got this. This is more of a fusion center call. This is a disruption. People say, oh, that could never happen. That could never happen inside the FBI, where people would say, hey, we got this. This is uranium-1. We'll handle this over at the Counterintelligence Center and hide it from the rest of FBI for 9 years. Exactly what happened in the uranium-1 case. Exactly what happened in the Hillary server investigation. Exactly what happened in the Huma server investigation. Exactly what happened in the Awan investigation. Exactly what happened in the Trump investigations. So again, I don't know why there's such resistance. No, there is no influence campaign. No, there is no esprit de corps that people are trying to create in the different states. No, this isn't run out of the state patrols and influence and so forth. Well, if they're going to do all the stuff with the ones with tapping into the backbone, why wouldn't they do it on a state-by-state basis, controlled through the few key positions, the universities, through different judicial positions, and through different law enforcement positions like Becerra, being the Attorney General of California. Look at what Trump said today about California, where he's getting fought every step of the way with federal law enforcement. He's saying, hey, I might pull federal law enforcement out of California. Again, these things are not new. They've been around a long time, these concepts about doing fusion centers, especially in Florida. As you know, we have people telling me there's no such thing as a National Fusion Center conference. To me, that looks like Janet Napolitano at the National Fusion Center conference. So we have to look at the communication structure, and I'll tell you right now, it's being done with Blackberries. And I give a special secure Blackberry to my people. Let's say I want to have the Cleveland Police Department, certain people on the Cleveland Police Department that are my guys, the nighttime cops. I just give them the Blackberry, and they're in. St. Louis is building a new fusion center, a gigantic $1.69 billion expansion to the NGA for geolocation. It comes to mind. Again, Florida doesn't have a fusion center, I've been told. Well, that imitation of their patch seems extremely good. Again, I can take a tank, I can have municipalities buy a tank, and I can call it an ambulance, and I can paint a red cross on it, but it's a tank. It's a tank. A tank is a tank is a tank. Again, people say there's no fusion centers in California. Well, you better tell them. You better tell the patch makers in California that they're making patches for no reason, because it looks very much like there's an influence campaign going on in California. So I just want to, again, people say I make these things up, I lie, somehow. And here, we have journalists like Cheryl Atkinson coming forward and saying, hey, these things happen all the time. So again, I think we have to look at these proprietary communications methodologies. We have to cut off the communication of these people that are running these illegal police forces, these illegal 10,000 illegal G4S type contractors. That has to be cut off. If you cut off their intelligence network, it doesn't matter how many criminals that you've promised early release. You are going to cut off the snake's head. And when you cut off the snake's head, the body dies.